that, I was checking my phone from other device to check. We were live all the time.
Okay, we're live again, guys. We're live again. I don't know
I
what
don't know
happened.
what's. I have no idea what's happening.
You're live again. Oh, live on Facebook. Yeah, I can see.
Okay,
Yeah,
meeting
yeah.
is now streaming live on
All
Facebook.
right.
Okay,
Finally.
This is
I think.
Third
Okay,
time lucky.
yeah, third time lucky,
Hopefully.
and I'm very sorry about what's going on right now. Um,
just yeah.
yeah, I'm really sorry about what's going on. I don't know what just happened. It's my first time doing it, so I guess I've just messed up a little bit.
It's considered
But let's
as
just
a
carry
trailer.
on. I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna be seeing the comments and stuff of people coming in, but
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking for. Maybe I can do that on my phone.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah, maybe
easy.
you can open a tab.
Yeah, maybe
I
I
can
can.
see I can see us live on Facebook, so we
Yeah.
probably should just get on with it.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Okay. We should probably just cut the crap. Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, the first thing I want to ask, I think one of the first things that comes to my head when I want to speak about certain things in the fraternity or whatever industry that we're in is the non-ticketed kind of shows that happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
it's a culture that we've kind of delved into, unfortunately or fortunately. Unfortunately, I would say, from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
What do you both have to say about that, and how and why is it that people are so hesitant on buying tickets and coming to watch an Indian classical music or dance performance? Why is that not a normal practice? Why do people now expect that we can go and watch an Indian classical music performance for free, and they're
I think
not,
it is.
and
Oh,
they
sorry.
don't want to buy a, I don't know, like a 500 rupee ticket to go and watch an Indian classical music concert? Pratik, you were saying something,
Yeah.
but please carry
Yeah,
on.
I was saying it is a mindset. It is a major flaw in the system. I think because ticketed concerts are absolutely necessary because it will support both the artists and the organizers as well.
Mm, mm,
Because it also it is more prevalent in the eastern zone. We often uh, get to see these free concerts where people just walk in, and if you introduce the system, people will naturally get repelled because all their lives they have been used to this custom of just walking into the venue and watching the concert.
mm,
I would like to uh, just bring the example of the theater industry because in the recent past I have been attending a lot of theater shows and I was really impressed by the system that prevails there.
right,
You know,
right.
where there's no discrimination. Everyone buys tickets, even the family members of the performers. They stand in the queue and they buy ticket to go in and watch the performance. And there are no such things called complimentary passes or guest passes unless somebody is exclusively invited as a chief guest.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right, right,
So
right,
these
right.
are the things I think we should. It is very hard to trace the exact source of this problem, but I think we should learn from this because it also leads to a lot of mindset. For example, I have observed that during when the show is going on, you'll hardly see people just walking in and out of the auditorium.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's the sensitivity that is there, and so it doesn't distract the performers, and also the performers get absolute undivided attention from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, so this system has been established there. And as Saberi has mentioned before, whenever we used to have conversations about this, that we have to go through some failures initially. It's not going to
mm.
happen overnight.
Yeah,
People are going to get repelled, but with time, once this culture is established, the genuine listeners and dance lovers will buy tickets and go.
yeah. I
Sure.
mean, just to add one thing, the reason I say that we have to go through failures, and I want to explain this to people watching, um, is that whenever you try to do something different from what's already happening, there is always going to be failure at the beginning. And I think that's what we fear the most. And I did say this when I was having a conversation with you guys before about this, is that of course artists can do this, but I think people who are promoting Indian classical music and dance really have to look into this. The people
I
who
think,
have the resources to do these kind of things
yeah,
need to look into this. And
I think it has to come from the organizers and organizations. I mean, I'll give you some positive examples like the NCP, National Center of Performing Arts in Mumbai.
Mhm.
I have never seen a free concert. I mean, they do free concerts, but that's like 2 concerts a year. But otherwise, every concert is
Mm.
ticketed, whether a legend is performing, whether an established person is performing, or it's a newcomer. So
Right.
when you do that for a lot of for a long amount of time, the culture is established, and people believe in the organization that whoever they're bringing in has some sort of quality. So we will pay, and that's the culture. And especially like Calcutta doesn't have the culture because it has been that way for many years. And
Mm.
to start something, it will take time. It will take
Yeah.
time. Also, people nowadays, even in the past, they're very careful about, they're very concerned whenever they spend money. I mean, if I'm going to spend 100 rupees,
Mm.
then in my brain, I'm going to think, is it worth it? So it's also, the people's mindset that is it worth spending the money to listen to a guy that I have seen as a kid? That's a mindset that shouldn't happen, but it
That is a
happens
mindset.
in a lot of cases.
No, but why do you think that mindset has why do you think people have mentalities like that now?
Well,
So for
because they have
example,
been.
if it's a really big name, right? We have
Mhm,
kind of gone into the system now where if there's a massive name, people are
mhm.
ready to pay money. And I
Of
think
course.
fine, that's natural. But why shouldn't we or anyone be trying to work towards bringing live music and dance festivals with fine, you can have the big names. There's nothing wrong in having the big names. Of course, that's a great thing to
Mhm,
do. But why not also have some smaller names or names that maybe people haven't heard before those big names? Then that serves two purposes. You're getting more audience. First of all, you're exposing more audience to more young and talented artists who can later on become big names. And
mhm.
secondly, you're still keeping ticketed concerts, right?
Yeah.
And thirdly, that means that you're not exploiting artists. At the end of the day, if you keep uh, organizing concerts with no tickets, with no some entry fee, what
Mhm.
is that going to do? It's going to directly affect the remuneration that artists also receive,
That
right?
is true. But the
So
basic need, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
no,
Saveri. The
no, please,
basic
please go
need
ahead.
of a artist, even at this day and age, is कि लोग आना चाहिए, hall भर जाना चाहिए. Even when we give examples, we as in people of any generation, our generation seniors, they judge the concert by the amount of people that are present in the
Mm,
auditorium. So there is this mindset which is like whether you pay or not, it has to be a full auditorium. House full is a big deal. It's a example of a successful concert. Now, if you do it free, obviously people will come. If I play, I'll call my friends. People will come. Saberi will come, and so many other people will come.
mm,
Now, in the West, whenever I've played in clubs, famous venues, they have the culture of even if you're a friend, the first thing you will do is go to the box office, buy a ticket, support the artist. So that's in the
Yeah.
culture. It's an
right.
ongoing practicing process, but that's not practiced in India.
Yeah.
No.
but
It's
but
hard to trace back to the root of this
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
no, I
And
mean it's hard.
also,
I think it's hard to go back to the root of any problem. I mean
Mhm.
I what I think is that, again, us three together, we're not going to change everything in half an
Mhm.
hour after having this discussion. What I think is important is that this discussion happens, right?
Yeah,
So there's so many people who don't even want to address this issue.
yeah.
They just want to say, Are, it's been happening, so it's just going to keep happening. Now this in itself is such a bad mentality to have.
Mhm.
you know
I mean,
you can't.
I have asked this to an organizer, like a known organizer in Mumbai, that why do you keep free concerts? And he's saying, क्योंकि अगर कोई young artist, if there's a young artist,
Right.
people will show up less, and the artist actually says, कि, make it free so that more and more people listen to us. We are always trying to, even through social media, we're trying to reach to as many as people. And when it comes to the money,
Mm,
it is it's secondary for people who are not established. Their thing
right.
is people should view me as much as possible. That's a general, concept that all of us have.
So do you really think that musicians, for musicians now, getting viewed more is more important? I mean, I don't actually, I don't even know why I'm asking this question. Surely getting viewed and getting paid should both be the same kind of priority. Like, let's cut the crap here. We're not just here to go on stage for people to look at us and say, oh, wow, you're doing a great job. Of course, that's one of the main things. We want to get that kind of validation from people, that the hard work that we've put into our riyaz or our talim or anything, the time that we spent with our instruments and our art form, it's getting validated, and people are saying, wow, you're doing such a great job, or your music has really touched me, or your dance has really energized me. I don't know. But also, isn't a part of being an Indian classical music dancer or a musician, like any other job, you're also trying to make a living out of it. Like, I'm not just going to say, people telling me, Saberi, you did such a good job in a performance, and then I get nothing out of that performance, monetary wise. I mean,
That
that
is,
at
yeah,
the
so
end
that is,
of it,
No,
I'm
it's very
still not.
unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
it is
unfortunate.
very
And
unfortunate, and artists have accepted this. We are repeatedly, we have been compelled to play for free, and then on the other hand, we were forced to incline on the other sources of income.
Mm.
and it's not
Because
entirely the fault of organizers. I mean, for an organizer,
no,
if
no,
you're
no, not at
presenting
all.
a young
It's the entire
artist,
system. Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, if people don't show up just for a matter of 100
Exactly. So
rupee
even the
per ticket,
organizers get
it's
affected
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
Even the ticketing system will also support the organizers to maintain
Yeah.
their positive initiatives, to
I
maintain the
mean, I
regularity.
also think that artists play a very big role in this.
Of course.
There will always be organizers who
I think we
only
just lost.
call big.
Did we lose Anubrata?
Yeah, I think we just did.
Mm.
Okay, well, I hopefully he'll send me a request back and I can admit him back. But what I was saying, I mean, there's no point of waiting again, I guess. But what I was saying while we wait for him to come back, I'm really sorry. There we go. He's back. I'm gonna admit him back.
Like that?
Yeah.
Ah, there he is.
But
there
what
he
I
is.
was saying is that in any situation, an artist has a really massive role to play.
So,
This is
Yeah, look, even the artist has to stand up for it, because I have witnessed situations where there are people who are standing in the queue, getting in,
yeah,
they have the tickets, but
yeah.
then there are several artists who just walk in, based on personal relationship, and also the members of the organization are coming and receiving them. So if an artist stands up,
Mm.
in favor of that system,
Mm.
so that will encourage many other young artists who are also, waiting for the opportunity to sneak in. That always happens. This green room entrance is a very common thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. The other thing also is, if an artist is being called into a festival and they're a senior artist, let's just say they're a very senior artist, and they have a good relationship with the organizer. They have all the authority to say, why not in this festival? Why don't you bring in a young artist also? Right? Why don't you bring in a young artist? And this will not just be very good for this specific concert, but it will be good for Indian classical music and dance in the long run, right? Because then you're promoting a young artist, and then you're also keeping a senior artist. You've got a
You're
good
getting the right kind of
I
balance
mean,
of
exposure.
they do. A lot of musicians do. Actually, most of musicians. Of course, people will have their preferences. I would prefer a certain musician because, I may like his music, but people do. I mean, legendary people, they do. They promote artists. They propose the idea of a certain artist to organizers. I have seen that. I mean, this is tried and tested as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I don't see that a lot in dance, at least. I don't know what you guys have experienced in music, or Pratik, what you've experienced, but I don't see that a lot in dance. I see very less unity in just generally in this field. There's very few people who even want to talk about people doing well. Like, they will not go live on Facebook and say, I think this person is dancing very well, or playing very well, or singing very well. Even having a conversation about the people, like, if I'm in this generation, I would feel very, very hesitant to say that, this person is doing very well in my field. There's so much insecurity, I think, built in
Agree with
to
that.
us.
I think a lot of musicians do say a lot of things. I mean, they not necessarily would go live on Facebook and say that, because there has to be a It has to be in the context. But
Mhm.
I mean, there
But I
is no
think they
point
should,
that,
they should,
I'm going to go
but I think they should
on Facebook and
voice,
say,
but I also think they should voice their opinion on a broader platform so that it can reach out to other people. And also, as you were saying about concerts, like artists, younger artists are accommodated in that way. We usually get that slot, which is not the prime time.
Yeah.
I witness this very often,
Mhm.
and people keep coming in, and the seats start getting filled when it is closer, when the time is
So,
closer to
so
a
Pratik
senior
has
artist
actually raised a
performance.
very good point. Let's move on to that because that's something I want to speak about as a dancer more
Sure.
than anything.
Mm.
Whenever I have performed somewhere, or even if it's not me actually, even if it's a different concert, I've always seen that dance has been kept
In
first,
the beginning.
and it's always kind of, and there's so many excuses that people give for this, is that there's thing of stage setup,
Stage
and
setups,
so we do dance first, and so we don't have to set up the stage in the middle, so we just kind of get done with dance first so that the dance is
Yeah.
done and we can set up one dais and everything. Fine, okay, fine, that's a practical way of looking at it, but we also have to see that already dance as a subject, I don't see a lot of musicians who go and watch dance programs unless it's a very big name. I don't see that happening. There's a massive disconnect between the dance fraternity and the music fraternity, and it's so sad that we have to differentiate the two fraternities like that, because I believe dance has a lot of music in it itself. I don't see the necessity to separate it. But there's so many people who will not, and I know musicians who will not give dance that much of an importance, and they won't go and see a dancer perform. But if it's a sarod player or a tabla player or a vocalist,
Vocalist.
they'll very happily go and take out their time to watch. And I've seen that happen, and
Yeah.
it's I think it's sad. And the reason I think that's happening is because of the attitude within musicians.
And as a
A lot
result,
of
the audience has
musicians
also
don't
gotten
really.
distinctly different. There's a separate audience for dance, and then there's a separate audience for music. This
Well,
is something we always see, at least in this part of the country.
yeah. I'll tell you from a personal experience. See, it's really difficult for a lot of musicians to understand dance. I mean, for me, when I was not playing with dance, it was something that I liked watching because, there's this beautiful lady doing her, presenting her performance, or a beautiful man, or a great. But it's hard to really understand. I mean, you have to get into the culture, then you understand. So a lot of listeners of sitar, sarod, and tabla, they find dance, the understanding of dance, a little difficult. And it's also the mindset, what you're saying, that's always there. But this
It
is
is a
also a
basic
reason.
conditioning.
But I have
It's
a
not that
question.
they never got exposed to it,
Yeah.
because so many things are related. We grow up,
Mhm.
watching dance, because tabla, nagma, everything is a part of our
Yeah, I mean, I
art
have a
form.
question. I don't
you know.
know why people differentiate tabla with dance so much, because dance has so many elements of tabla in it. Like a
Mhm.
dancer is not a dancer unless they have some knowledge of tabla. I mean, at least
Mhm.
that's what I've learned through my
Yeah, very
talim,
true.
or that's what
You're
I've
talking about
understood.
Kathak. You're talking about Kathak.
I'm talking about Kathak
Hmm.
because I'm a Kathak artist, and I'm talking
Yeah.
about
I think that's the only form of
this
dance
is
in
very
our
interesting. So
Hindustani repertoire.
Gurdain has joined. Hi Gurdain, first of all, great to have you here.
Oh.
And Gurdain has written, we cannot expect necessarily that musicians and dancers audiences merge. I'm going to answer that. It's not a question, but I want to address that. As a dancer, I don't think that's the right mentality to have. I think uh, we all fall under one umbrella, which is Indian classical arts. And I think, and dance is not even separate to music. I'm going to say this again. It is not separate to music at all. A dancer cannot do without a tabla player. A dancer cannot do without a sarod player or a sarangi player supporting him or her. We are very much one unity. It's teamwork. Also, he says it's the visual versus audio difference. I don't know what you mean by that. I think you should probably
I
maybe
think he means
extend on
dance is a
that.
more visual oriented thing where people see,
I
and
mean, I can't see Gurden, but hi Gurden. But this point, I actually agree with him. See, you can listen to a concert, you can go back home, turn on your headphones, and you can listen to a sarod, sitar, or anything, flute, tabla. With dance, it becomes a little difficult. I mean, the only dancer that I have seen come out an album from HMV was Pandit Birju Maharaj. I haven't seen a dance album, like an audio album to be released.
Right.
So for a lot of people, the connect doesn't happen because they can't take home, or if they're driving, they can't listen to dance because it's a lot of visual, but they can listen to a Bageshri Alap or a Teen Tal solo. It's a little easy.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the point that you're now bringing in is how can they take it home? But I'm not even going that far. I'm saying if I'm performing on stage and you're performing on stage and Pratik's performing on stage, as far as I see it, and maybe I see it like this because I'm a dancer, that's also a point. Obviously, that's a factor to keep in mind. But everything is visual to me. You performing tabla is very visual. I think if I even in the audience, if I sit with my eyes closed, yeah, I can still hear the content of what you're playing. That's why it's done. I mean the visual.
And
and
I
the
think that
audio
is the
thing,
reason both are included in the same event. If it was
no, but
separate, then there'll be
I'm not
always
even.
exclusively dance events
No,
and
I mean,
But
exclusively.
that's what I'm
my
saying.
point.
What's happening now,
So
really?
My point is, let's say if dance slot is given in the middle, let's say there are 5 performances and dance is like in the prime slot.
Right.
So then, I mean, there is also a lot to do with the setup, because I have played with dance and it's not only the tabla player and the dancer. There are multiple setups, sound checks. It gets complicated, and the focus is on the dancer. The focus is not on the tabla player. For the people, of course, tabla gets the second fiddle because it's the expression, but sarangi, harmonium, I've seen them struggle, like they're in a corner and no one is giving them importance. So that's a general perception. When if you are saying that, then dance has to be presented differently. So there has to be people who are strategically put. They're not put in the same format. They can be put in different places.
I mean, dance can be presented differently. I think that's also a discussion to have, definitely. But I think for dance to be presented differently, it has to be taken seriously first. I think
Yeah.
if the first thing is people do not have musicians don't have the knowledge of dance. And I'm not saying every single musician has to have the knowledge of dance, because again, I'm going to bring in dancers into this. Most dancers don't have any knowledge of tabla, which I think
The thing
also is a problem.
when you make a statement like that, then there are people who have the knowledge. So
I'm
when you're
saying
making a
many
statement,
people don't. I'm saying many
I mean,
people don't.
but many people do have the knowledge of dance. Personally, I didn't have the knowledge of dance, but later, I got some knowledge because I was playing with dancers. So it also happens
Of
that way.
course. I'm saying that of course many
Yeah.
people do. Many
There's a
people
way
do,
to
but many
appreciate,
people
right? Just
don't.
like tabla or sarod. So there's a way to appreciate dance. So that is something to be learned.
Yeah, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, as a dancer, I have faced
Mhm.
this. And I think, I don't know if there's a lot of dancers in the audience. I don't know if you are, then please comment. But
Mhm.
as a dancer, you have less opportunities. It's very simple. There's
Yeah.
still so many festivals around India that do not include dance,
That's true.
at
Yeah.
all. So
And
already there
festivals
you are.
who used to include dance, they don't anymore, I have
They
seen,
don't
which is very
anymore. So my
unfortunate. Yeah.
question is why? I just want questions to be answered. Why are you not including dance? I dance for an organization. I think it was 2015 or 16.
Mhm.
And after that, when I went to see the person, I went to the office of that organization and I said, I'd like to perform again.
Mhm.
And I just asked generally, why don't you keep more Kathak or
Mhm.
dance, just Indian classical dance
Mhm.
in general?
Mhm.
You're such a big organization. They said, we're not going to do dance anymore in our organization. I said, oh, why? And the answer they gave me blew my mind. They were like, because it distracts the people of our academy. It distracts
Ooh.
the students of our
Okay.
academy.
that is
So
very dangerous, Sarod.
I didn't say anything back because I was in a state of shock, right? I was actually
Wow.
shocked. Like as a dancer, I was shocked. I was like, okay, so me dancing on stage is going to distract your students.
Well,
I mean,
that you should take as a compliment. That means they really
I
get
take as a
distracted.
compliment. I take as a compliment because
Yeah.
great, fine. I don't know how I'm distracting you, but okay,
Yeah.
fine. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
But also,
Mhm.
that's the crappiest excuse for not
Yeah,
keeping
that's true.
dance.
Yes.
That is, I mean,
Yeah.
if they had given me any other excuse, like we don't
Yeah.
really understand dance, we don't really know any dancers who can curate something for
Mhm.
us. That to me is fine, a valid point. But you
Mhm.
telling me that your students of your academy are going to get distracted if you keep
Mhm.
dance, um, is actually plainly offensive. I mean,
Yeah, and it's
I
very
was,
It's
weird.
offensive.
It's very weird. You
it's
have to
very,
actually get on board a few organizers to, go
and
more
this,
into that
oh yeah,
topic.
we
Yeah.
will have organizers
Yeah.
on the show,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to that. But
Mhm.
there were lots of people who came to that concert who were musicians and who said to me,
Mhm.
we've never actually watched a proper Kathak, and this is a massive
Mhm.
organization in Kolkata.
Mhm.
They're very big in
Mhm.
India.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow, really, this is what they think? They
Mhm.
think that if I come on stage, I'm just there to look good, so that's what they're going to look at. Because I look good, people are going to get distracted by me. That's really
Yeah,
sad.
that is really
You're not
unfortunate. That is
actually
really
watching
unfortunate.
like my content and my talim
Mhm.
and what I've worked hard for. All you're watching is how I look, what my body looks like, if my face looks pretty enough, if my hair is tied up nicely or not, if I'm wearing the right colored dress.
And
That's
there is
not
no
what
focus
we
on the content.
dancers, there's no focus on the
No
content
focus on the
whatsoever. And I believe that dancers are to fault in that. I
Mhm.
mean, the next
And
episode is
I
with
think also this is a part of a wide mentality, there's a lot of discrimination that has been brought in our fields. It's not only the dance, many other
Hmm.
uh, aspects are often looked down upon. That's why how the labeling thing, a very unfair hierarchy has been introduced
Yeah,
into the system, you know
yeah,
because
yeah.
even like musicians who play with dance, or correct me if I'm wrong, tabla players who mostly play with vocal music, they
Mhm.
hardly get opportunities to play with instrumentalists,
That's true. And
So
tabla
you
players
know.
who play more with instrumentalists, they are not
Mhm.
invited to play with vocalists.
And
I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
actually, Anubrato, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you
classical.
this, but I'll let Pratik finish and then ask
No,
you.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
Finish.
saying that me as a classical uh, instrumentalist or a musician, from the very beginning of my life, I've gotten exposure to both dance and
Mhm.
music, because I used to get
Mhm.
dancers like Shantosh Kaku, Chitesh Kaku coming to my place, and we used to have
Mhm.
intense sessions down. I didn't start playing then, but
Mhm.
I was aware of the fact what is going on, you
Mhm.
know.
And more
So
importantly, you were not
there's a
distracted.
big,
You were not
yeah,
distracted like
and
those students.
and yeah, because I was aware of it, and there's a lack of awareness involved
Mhm.
here. Many people
That's
didn't
true.
get exposure to it, but
Mhm.
I think I personally don't differentiate it,
Mhm.
because I myself, I have a lot of uh, what kind of ambition to explore different aspects of our music, though which I
Mhm.
don't get the opportunity to.
Mhm.
I
Also, I
want to
just want to
play.
make clear
Uh,
that that organization was talking, that person who said that to me
Mhm.
was a person working in that organization in the administrative part of things,
Yeah.
right?
See, we get
So
to hear
maybe
all of these. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe the people in that institution who are learning, they're very interested in watching dance. It's just
Mhm.
very unfortunate that the people who are running it and who are the core members of that organization
Mhm.
feel that they need to separate these students from dance.
and
Maybe
that
the
Mm,
students
mindset
there
is
want
being
to experience dance.
transmitted
I
to
mean,
the students
yeah, I
as
mean, the
well.
mm,
positivity of what I can think is that obviously these students who are learning there, I'm sure they must be like, but I want to watch dance. Where can I
Yeah,
go to watch dance? Where can I go to open my mind to this art form that I don't know a lot about? And
mhm.
hopefully that does happen, and hopefully that will keep happening. But I'm just talking about my own opinions and how I think I've been spoken to as a dancer. There's been many people, and this is the truth. Durgesh has written, a dancer needs to have a good knowledge of all three Gayan, Vadan, and Nartan. Durgesh says. Durgesh, we're going to have a great conversation
Not
next
only
time.
dancer, a tabla player, a sarod player, we all need
yeah,
that. We're all,
yeah.
trying to
And
educate
and my
ourselves in everything.
opinion is there is a reason why they both are included in the same platform. If it was
Mhm.
so separate, there will
Mhm.
be absolutely exclusive events for both of them.
Mhm.
So there is a reason why they are included, and I'm sure
Yeah.
it was prioritized more in the older days, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, with time,
Yeah.
it has declined.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just going to, sorry,
I'm no
go ahead.
one to give my opinion on dance, but yeah, I believe in the fact that tabla, sarod, instrument, dance, vocal, they should come under one umbrella and genuinely from inside,
They should,
not
yeah,
not
because you have
just
played
sing.
with
Yeah.
dance, but many tabla
Yeah.
players, they consciously believe that playing with dance will, affect their style of playing, or it will just
Well, they
distort.
believe because their gurus may have said.
Yeah, so
That's the thing.
the,
A
the
lot of our belief system are based
is
on
the
people,
kind of,
the
Shuro,
gurus.
yeah.
Shurojato has joined this, and Shurojato's
Mhm.
written something very interesting.
Mm.
He said, when you lack the knowledge about something, it will not attract you enough. I
Yeah.
have one question for both of you,
Mhm.
which is when you guys started your Indian classical music training,
Mhm.
when we're talking about dance specifically, obviously as a tabla player or a sarod player, you guys wanted to get to know vocal music or instrumental music.
Mhm.
Trying to be honest here, if we can have like just a very honest conversation,
Mhm.
when in your life were you like, okay, I really need to know more about dance?
Well, should I
I
answer? Should I
mentioned it
go
before.
first?
I was
Yeah, go
exposed
ahead,
to,
Anubrata, go
yeah,
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah,
Anubrata,
please.
go ahead.
See, how it worked with me, I'll tell you. The necessity of playing with different forms of music got me the interest that I should learn more dance. And also, when you see these amazing concert series of Birju Maharaj ji or Chitresh ji or like any dancer for that matter, you see all these super hit concerts both on YouTube and both being present there. You also want to, as a tabla player, I would want to explore this form. So that's the starting seed that okay, I have to learn, and then I found interest in learning that, and
Mhm.
then I came more into the depth of whatever less I have knowledge about playing with dance is because of that interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
In my
Yeah.
case, it happened more naturally because I grew up watching dance in my house. I also used to get some opportunity to play Nagma. So I
Yeah.
was always exposed to that thanks to my family.
Yeah.
And they have also hosted a lot of events where dance was included, not in the solo form, but also in the form of an ensemble. So
Mm.
yeah, this subject has always fascinated me.
My knowledge in dance ends here, so you have to change the question. I have no more talim to say anything on dance. No.
Yeah, I mean that in itself is a whole conversation altogether
Yeah.
as to why I mean, I don't know, this is obviously I guess yeah, we should move on to a different conversation,
Mhm.
because I have a whole lot of things to say about
You
dance,
should
obviously,
have a
because
Yeah,
series, a
but
dancer series with
and we are
five
oh,
looking
definitely.
concerts.
forward to
No,
your.
I mean, what I
That
think
would be
is
exciting.
wrong
Yeah.
is to kind of think that we should only be speaking about dance to dancers. I think that's another thing that needs to change. But I mean, that's different. I think the next question I want to ask is labeling. You both perform with a lot of different type of artists, not just Indian classical music artists. You perform with world musicians, jazz
Mhm.
musicians, and you've done a lot of collaborations with people. Do you face kind of like a identity problem where people find it difficult to label you, or do you think labeling is necessary? What do you feel about that? Does it affect your pure traditional classical repertoire?
Okay.
It doesn't
Can
affect. It is wrong to say that it affects the pure classical repertoire. I used to get a lot of opposition when I was younger because maybe naturally, when you are young, you're still growing. There are chances of getting diverted and putting more, uh, more like most of your concentration getting diverted to what
Mm,
you like because it is more a open field when you step into the world music uh, area. But I think. Collaborating with other forms of music has just broadened my mind, and I often face discrimination. People are always labeled, not only me, many other musicians, that oh, he plays fusion music. I think he's losing his grip on classical and his bass. It is a very wrong way to judge an artist, in my opinion. And
mm,
there's so much to learn when we go, because after all, when we are collaborating on a project which is not our form of music but a more combined form, uh,
right.
we are not looking at those harmonies in the form of a chordal structure or something. We are always
Mhm.
relating to it with our bass,
Mhm.
with the
Mhm.
shrutis I know, or I'm relating to the ragas that I've learned. So
Mhm.
in a way it is just expanding my horizon.
Mm,
And I have got a lot of discouragement, but I have luckily gotten over it. And I
Mhm.
think being an independent artist, I freely work with
Mhm.
all kinds of music whenever I get chance and whenever I get
Mhm.
inclined to something.
Mhm.
So
Saberi, can you just repeat the question? I'm sorry, I forgot the
yeah, i
question.
was just
Yeah.
i was just asking. I mean, I've heard a lot of people ask me, or and I'm not really the right person to ask, but you guys have obviously worked and collaborated with a lot of different type of artists and not just Indian classical musicians. How has that affected your traditional repertoire or your pure tabla repertoire? I don't want to call it pure, but your traditional repertoire. And
See,
have you been labeled or been subjected to it, or has it not affected you at all in any way?
see, people will always label you. People will always typecast you. That's what we do. If a singer has sung ghazals all his life, we say he's a ghazal maestro. If he was singing classical, so that typecast mentality is there in every field. That's not only music. But the thing is, what is important for me, when you do a lot of experimental work, you are kind of jumping away from your roots to a different world. So when you go there, when you go to a different world, what you go with is the pure stuff that you have learned, the piece of information, talim, whatever your repertoire.
Right.
So a formidable time spending on that pure form of repertoire is very important. Otherwise, somewhere you lose the focus. And you may sound good. I'm not saying you may sound awesome. Your tabla playing or your sarod playing might be awesome. But people who understand pure classical music, they will always criticize you because, in that whole thing, you're kind of, there is somewhere you have to compromise. So end of the day, that whole compromise, how you are using your known material to collaborate, that comes from individual to individual. That's the thing. But the formidable talim is very important to do that. But you will always be criticized, and that's a good thing. I mean, if you're not criticized, nahi hoga. You won't feel bad. You won't work for it. I have felt bad so much when I was your age, when I was upcoming Saberi, I faced so many criticism because I belong to a lineage and people love my father. I mean, when he's there, he's speaking, people, no questions asked, they love. So obviously people, those same people will start criticizing me. Oh, ye kya kar raha hai? What is he doing? This and that, this. But you have to do what you have to do, and you have to be in sync, on the same page with your guru. The most important person is your guru. If your guru is doesn't prefer the whole thing of mixing with other forms of music, then you can never do it. Either you have to give up on your guru, or you have to give up on that idea. So guru plays an important part in my life, I can tell you. So my father has always encouraged me to do something new. When I did this project with a Japanese musician, Yumi Kurosawa, I asked my father, listen, I got this offer. What should I do? He said, oh, great, you should do that. But I mean, just make sure what you play is, is the things that you choose from your repertoire is the thing that goes across to that world. And if you're playing good stuff, pure stuff, then that the information that goes to that world is also valid, and it doesn't disappear. It has more. It can live for a long time.
Right.
That's what I feel. But criticism will happen. It happens every day. Even as we speak, there will be a lot of criticism. So
Oh, definitely. There'll be a lot of criticism.
So that's always there.
Of course. Debjit says, Anubrata Das said so nicely, if you are not being criticized, then you are stuck. This is what Debjit says.
That's the thing.
Gurdain says,
Also,
is tabla playing?
He felt it. He felt it because he's in the next generation and playing.
But I
so
think
well.
also there's a very fine
he
line
feels it.
between the criticisms that you should take into consideration and the criticisms that you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. I'll tell you, I take every criticism. I take every criticism into my head, and then I have this scanner
we all do.
in my mind.
Yeah, that's where you.
Whoever is saying, sometimes they end up saying something true. I mean, I see my YouTube videos, so he needs to do this, and it may upset me, but when I think later, I'm like, actually he was right. And then when you work on it, that's individually you're improving. So
as I said before, like the criticism that I used to get at my younger age, I realized today because I wasn't mature enough to keep the balance between the two. So I completely agree with that. That has helped me. But now the criticisms that I get often, I think they are not reasonable enough because as I said,
Indian classical music in itself is a very confusing sort of space. You are asked to play the pure stuff, the thing that, the what the maestros played in any form. Now, if you learn that exact thing and if you start playing, then there will be people who are saying, but naya kya hai? What is new in it?
Mm.
Now, if you do something new, then they'll say, but he's moving, he's changing paths. So it's a very confusing field to start with.
It is a
As
very
a kid, especially, I mean, for students who are youngsters, they don't have a lineage, they don't have a guru at home, or their guru might not be so much, so much work in the head. There are many
right.
gurus who are amazing, but the research is not necessarily that level.
Also,
So
I just want to clear something. I mean, criticism will be in anything. I think we all agree with that.
Mhm.
Anything you do, there will always be people who don't like what you do, and they
Yeah,
will always criticize what you're doing, or there'll be people who don't agree with you. You can never have
that's true.
everybody uh loving what you're doing. That's never gonna
If
happen. And I don't think
everyone's loving you, then somewhere you are
then something
compromising
is
a lot.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
and something is wrong, and you're probably not doing something right because everybody's
Yeah.
absolutely loving what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think my question wasn't really about why do people criticize you and should they criticize you. My question was, if you are delving into other art forms and you're collaborating with other art forms,
Mhm.
keeping your traditional talim and whatever you have received from your gurus, and you're going into that, have you seen that people kind of don't want to accept you as an Indian classical musician because they believe that you're collaborating too much? That was my question. And the other thing that I want to slowly speak about is kind of developing your own personality when you're in this field. When you decide to take this as your profession, and you decide that this is all that I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, this is going to be my career. How much of building your personality is important? Because I think from when we're kids, for people who have been doing this since they were kids, or they've been introduced to it by their families, or they've gone to a guru at a very young age, we are taught again very much to be very diplomatic all the time, right? And I won't say that's necessarily always a bad thing. Obviously not everybody can just say whatever comes to their mind. That's us trying to be as sensitive as we can with whatever we say. But is it the right thing to say to a kid who's decided, I'm going to be a tabla player, or I'm going to be a dancer, or I'm going to be a sitar player, sarod player, to instantly be putting into their brains, be diplomatic, don't say anything, just stay silent, don't ask too many questions. Asking too many questions isn't going to get you anywhere or whatever, or concentrate on this. The reason I asked this question is because I grew up here. I grew up in London, and I didn't know a lot about that, the fraternity back home in India. I used to go, my parents used to take me to India twice a year, but I didn't really, I was quite, and I still am, I'm quite outspoken about whatever I feel or think. And I just kind of say it. And I don't really think like, oh, if I say this isn't going to get me a gig, or this is going to put me in the bad books of this person. I'm just wondering why this is such a big thing. Because even while organizing Cut the Crap, I have experienced with people that I'm inviting, they're very apprehensive to come and speak on the show. And I'm like, I'm not going to ask you anything that's going to put your reputation on the line or anything. We're just going to have a discussion. And it's really surprising to me that artists who are doing so well and so senior, and they're so good at their art, are so insecure to speak about some things. And I'm just wondering, what is that? Is that a lack of opinion forming?
Look, in my opinion, it is my personal opinion. We should always keep this in mind, that we have been brought up by our parents, by our families. We have learned different lessons, values, ethics, and same when we got into a educational institution. How it has shaped our mind, and how we have grown through interacting with different people from time to time.
Mm.
All this is just to come to this point that so that we can stand up at a very basic level, okay? So that we can all stand up as an independent individual being.
Mm.
And I think that should also reflect in our art form. But unfortunately, once we step into the field, we experience a lot of suppression. We experience a lot of influence where our instincts are suppressed. We are often set to present ourselves in a certain way, you know? And I believe at a very primary level, music is basically a mode of expression.
Right.
Okay, and it is very important that your inner self, it is very important to bring out your inner self, you know?
Mm.
So
Mm.
suppressing these things and, you know, setting a generalized format of how an artist, especially a young artist, should behave, you know, or, you know, have their opinions,
Mm.
it is, I think, affecting the individual side of every artist, you know,
Right.
and it is resulting in more and more diplomacy, more and more hypocrisy at different level. You know, people are saying things that they don't believe. People are vocally appreciating things that they don't like, and actually they end up talking, you know, at the back. So I think at a very basic level, this is not a very healthy development. Okay.
I mean,
And
I think that's
you know, Indian
incredibly
classical music is very abstract and rigid, and it is absolutely necessary to maintain this art form. But also, we shouldn't get scared or intimidated by that system that will hold us back and prevent us from coming out with our actual self.
yeah.
And what is the point?
Right.
And how will our music evolve? You know, fear doesn't teach you respect. Respect comes from a very mutual relationship.
I agree. Absolutely.
You know, so these are the things. This is my opinion. I
No,
mean,
I agree. I agree with you, Pratik.
Anubrata, yes.
The thing is, in our music, mostly the gurus doesn't say a lot. Usually, a student follows the guru. That's why you see if the guru wears a certain kind of kurta, the student starts wearing a certain kind of kurta. I have students from my father who suddenly one day said, "Oh, you know, I have a little back pain. It's really bothering me." So I'm like, "Seriously, you do? Wow, that's good." So you try to follow your guru like a shadow. So that's why even sometimes unknowingly you end up into all these prejudices.
Mm.
But I mean, one of the basics of our art is I mean, of course, you should express your own personality, but your own personality, along with the music that you have learned, is that combination which does the trick
yes,
for you if it
absolutely.
does. So a lot of gurus are little scared and little careful
Yeah, and
because
that's why there are very less gurus who have that broader
yeah,
outlook to
but
free their own students from
yeah,
their own
Sorry,
influence.
guys, what you've both just said is really good because Abhishek has asked a question which is directly related to what you
yeah,
guys are talking about.
I didn't complete though. But yeah, what is
Yeah, but
Abhishek
no,
asking?
please, no, please,
No,
please,
no,
please
fine.
say it. I
I'll
didn't, I
yeah.
mean, I thought Pratik was speaking, so that's
No, no, the
why I,
point is in our music, people, the thing is, I can stand and I can speak my heart out. But
Hmm.
people usually listen to me if I have done something, contributed something to the art. They start following me, they start respecting me. And then if I say a certain thing, there will be people who will follow. So it's very important to have some sort of a experience in playing into the art. I mean, classical music is like it's like test cricket. We see cricketers criticizing, oh, this guy is not. If you can't be a good test cricketer, you cannot be a good batsman and all that. These things are there. So it's like the purest form. So there will be people who will be always advocating that fact, and it's not a negative thing. It's their thing. I mean, if they don't do that job, then we as youngsters and people of the next generation, they might just get diverted. So it's important for a class of people, a class of gurus, to always remind the students, okay, listen, don't go away from your tradition, try to do this. But it's our choice how we do it. It's my choice to express. If I want to express my individuality, it comes from a realization. You have to realize that a lot of musicians don't realize that all their life they're protecting their gharana or their style or something like that. They have a different mission.
mm,
So it depends on your mission. I mean, if you want to add individuality, then you think about it. even if your guru is saying no. But
But it
there
is
are
not
there are
always
people who are
possible
always
for
trying to.
everyone because they are always scared to meet the inevitable consequences.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
true. Because हमारे संगीत में we have always heard this तहजीब or तमीज, these two words we have all heard. I mean, not only us, even this previous generation, the great Ustad Thirkwa Khan Sahab, they have always said तहजीब or तमीज. So when you're getting the talim, the information from a great maestro like him, you also get that whole thing of tehzeeb and talim. It comes in the package according to, along with the thing. So that's where the problem is. Now, how do you decode it is something which is very personal and individual to you.
I mean, I think what you've just said is great. I what I was more. I mean, let's go on to Abhishek's question because it's completely related to what both of you are saying. But my laptop is doing something weird and I can't. Yeah, okay. He's saying, how important is image building, and at what stage of your career do you decide that this is what you want your image to be? Do you feel that a lot of artists start feeling self-important when they create a serious musician image?
Now the problem is there's this how to call
It's a
it?
really long question, mate.
It is
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Anubrata,
Come
you
on,
want to say
sorry.
something?
Then I'll hear Pratik what he says, and then I'll get into it.
I think there is a very, I would quote unquote, there's a very weird and funny idea that lies that, and we have often been said that you will be recognized for your, for whoever you are, for your image once you cross a certain age line. You know, all your efforts and all your hard work will be recognized, you know, and then only you can establish your own image. So I think this age thing, I don't support at all. I think I'm working hard in creating an image of my own, and I don't feel bound to be in this bracket of this age thing that after I get to this point and after I get a certain number of experience, then I will
I don't
be.
think that's what he meant to ask, though. If I can just, what I understood from that question
Then simplify the question.
was when you decide that this is okay. So I'm going to go back to the question because I know what you're talking about. I think that's a different thing to what he's trying to say, though. I think
So
he's
let's
trying to
repeat
say,
Abhishek's question. What he was asking.
I'm just going to repeat it again because it's long.
Uh-huh.
And my laptop is being incredibly slow. Every time I'm scrolling down, it's
Take your
taking
time.
2 more seconds. Okay. How important is image building? And at what stage of your career do you decide that this, so whatever image you've created, is what you want your image to be? Like, this is how I want people to see me, right? Do you feel that a lot of artists start feeling self-important when they create a serious musician image? That's what he's asking. So
Yeah,
if
I
you
feel
do,
I feel a lot of artists are conscious about having a serious image, and that helps them, and that has happened. They have seen their gurus, their people who they got inspired from. They've seen. So that part I agree. Yeah, there is a conscious thing that I'm a serious, no nonsense sort of thing. Serious. Suddenly, like a person who's say 10 years senior to me, suddenly one fine day I see, that person is acting in a certain way. Is that what Abhishek is asking?
I think so. I think that's what he's
Yeah.
asking.
So
I
so
think
so that is there. Whether it's important or not, that's a different question. I think it's very important to have your own image, something that people recognize you for. If you see all the greats, there is no exception in this case. Every great maestro who has maintained the greatness for over 20, 30, 40 years has a very distinct personality, has a distinct image, has a way of coming on stage, way of wearing clothes, way they present themselves. And it's very important that you do that, whatever that image is, because your greatness is also discussed among the stories. I have heard stories where a certain vocalist was singing and then he turned his back because he was probably under some substance. So these stories build up a lot of suspense, build up a lot of jokes, and people laugh, and it actually popularizes them, whatever that image. This is a weird image, but wearing a certain kind of clothes, saying what you say, how you present. These are very important things. So image building is very important.
So does one attain that only when they reach that level of popularity, or when they become a maestro?
I think if you have that image, a certain distinct image, then you actually, go towards the popularity, or that is definitely one of the tick marks. Now, there is no recipe if you are going to be popular. There's no recipe to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think popularity is the next question. I think what's being discussed here is what is, I think what you said, the recipe thing. Is there a recipe? Is there a certain image that's going to work for everyone? Because it seems that people just want to be one type, something where you're very serious and you just talk music, and you don't really talk about relevant issues. And that's why I think we're having this conversation, is because these conversations are not had.
That musician might not be going through that journey what you and me or some other people are going. That's the thing. That musician has done his thing, and he wants to preach something else. That is, one musician should get that liberty to express however way he can. You may not like him. I mean, a lot of musicians, when they speak about themselves and the music, there is a lot of spiritual angle, which is great, which we understand because we are into music. But for a common person, they don't relate. I'll give you an example. Spikmake used to come to my school in Calcutta.
Right.
And at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, some senior singer, comes to perform under Spikmake. And that gentleman performs for 2 hours, pure khayal, jhumra and everything. And forget the other students, me being a musician who is a tabla player or aspiring, I got bored because you cannot connect. You're not connecting, you're just doing your own thing. And then you say something on a spiritual level, which a 7-year, 9-year, 10-year kid won't understand. Neither do they have the interest.
Right.
So yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so valid, because we need to be able to, depending on the audience, we should be able to connect the audience to the music that we're presenting to them. And if they're kids, you want to be able to explain to them what you're doing and make it more available to them. Devina has asked a question, and I'm only going on my phone because my laptop, because there's two things happening at the same time on it. I'm just going to go onto the, sorry about that. So Devina has said, Tehzeeb and Talim are great, but shouldn't be used to suppress the urgent and open discussions this ecosystem needs on issues of hierarchies and power structures that decide the value and perception of an individual musician. So that's a massive topic. I mean, I would say we have only about 5 or 10 minutes right now because we've gone over the 1 hour mark. But that's one comment. Then I'm just going to read some comments because it's nice to see what people are writing. Sana Sohni has written, young musicians getting together to discuss the real questions with their best intentions at heart. This is one of the first discussions on the topic that drew me in as a viewer. Bold, clear, and direct. What a refreshing experience. Thank you, Sana Sohni. I'm sure Anubrata and Pratik both have felt really. Thank you very much, Sana.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Abhishek, Jagdeep Shah is saying, does image building include artists being also being promoters, or should they concentrate on the music? So let's just address two things first. Devina's comment, it's not really a question, but I would want to know what you guys think about it. I'm just going to read it again, and then we can do Anubrata first and then Pratik.
Sure.
Tehzeeb and Talim are great, but shouldn't be used to suppress the urgent and open discussions this ecosystem needs on issues of hierarchies and power structures that decide the value and perception of an individual musician.
That's what I've mentioned. That's what I said.
So we'll go with Anubrata first, and then we'll come back.
I partly agree with Devina ji. She's right, and she's a very known individual organizer. She has tried and tested, so I wouldn't go there. But as far as the hierarchy are concerned, see, if a musician is better than most of other musicians of his generation, then obviously there has to be a hierarchy. If you're good, then you're treated good. It's not like all are equals, sub-equal. It doesn't work that way, because someone has a better presence. Someone's music is much better than the others. So this all musicians are equal concept, I don't get it. Because if someone is better than you, if someone is doing great job for so many years, then that person should get more popularity, respect, money, everything. It's a valid thing.
So are you saying that that's what happens in our field, that if you're better than someone, you always get more opportunity?
No, you don't always get more opportunity, but if you do get an opportunity, it's not you getting it as a fluke. It's not. There is a reason. I mean, in every generation, there are a group of musicians, and they tend to be invited more by people, and which is a great thing. I mean, somewhere they're connecting to the people. That's why they're being invited by artists, organizers, and even people.
But is it
So
the case that every time that they are connecting because they are connecting with the people? Then what if when others are not getting, like, how will we know if we don't give others opportunity whether they are
But
eligible?
it's not an artist's responsibility to give a fellow artist an opportunity. It's the responsibility of an organization, someone who's in the backseat doing good for the music. I mean, I'm an artist. If you expect me to leave my concert and give an opportunity to someone else,
Oh no,
that
no.
practically
No,
is
no,
not possible.
that's not the
I
point.
think what we're not addressing here is that an organizing committee is one thing, but that organizer knows artists, and I think that's the hierarchy that Davina is talking about. There are artists who are related to that organizer, who have their preferences on who should
That
be a
has
part of
happened.
that festival. Of
That
course,
has
that's gone on
happened.
for years. It's gone
That
on
has
for years.
happened. Yeah,
right?
that has happened since I think music started. I mean, we
Yeah,
all.
I mean, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. So the question is, I think what
Yeah.
she's saying is that, of course, Tehzeeb Talim, I mean, when we talk about Tehzeeb and Talim, surely that should also be a part of that Tehzeeb and Talim. I mean, that should be a part of the Tehzeeb and Talim. That fine. If you're getting the opportunity, that's great. Why should you be there telling an organizer who they should be taking or not? I mean,
But
that
why are the
happens in,
organizers listening? Why are the organizers listening? Why do
but
they
that's
have
it's a vicious circle, right?
why do they have great artists in the organizing committee? I mean, if you see websites of many festivals, you will see this great artist is an advisor. So which means they are, giving preference. And I don't blame them, because if I'm an artist, I have my choice to promote a certain artist that I believe in. So there's nothing wrong in it. The system, of course, a lot of young artists don't get the opportunity. Like in my generation, there are at least 15 amazing tabla players who are not known pan India or pan Asia. They're not known because they don't play with the festivals, the concerts, the artists that I get an opportunity to play, or someone my contemporary gets. So that is unfortunate. That is true, but and it's not the responsibility of an artist to address that thing. I mean, you can't blame it on him. It can be his choice. If I'm a great maestro, it could be my choice to promote a whole gang of great musicians. But I may just choose to play concerts and do my thing and be happy and promote music in a different way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think nobody is saying that everybody has to promote everyone. I think that's the wrong way. Everybody has different missions in life. I might not want to promote people. I might just want to do my dance and not promote people. But I think, I mean, then we go into a whole different topic of give and take policies and all of that, which is a whole different discussion altogether.
Give
Which
and
will
take
take
policy does. It's
a
not
whole.
only music. It exists everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Every
everywhere.
field
I
that
mean,
we're talking
we're talking about music because
Yeah,
obviously this
yeah.
discussion is about music.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does exist everywhere. But if we
It
go into
does.
that, it'll be another half an hour of a
It
conversation.
does.
But I want to ask one
I mean,
last
I have
question.
a good idea for all the organizers. Why don't they have a voting system? So you have a voting system that in this festival we have 10 slots. Out of them, 4 slots are given to legends. Now the 6 slots, aap bataiye, what do you want? Do you want a tabla solo? Who do you want? It should happen like that, like a voting. Then it's very clear. Then the artist who gets the maximum vote comes to perform, and people who voted them will actually come, because they also know. So it should work that way. I think that is something which could be tried.
Yeah, definitely, that's something that could be tried. I mean, I think it's high time that we. I think it's high time that we use different ways of choosing artists for a festival.
Instead of keeping one curator, instead of keeping one or a panel of curators, this voting is a very good option. It's a very good idea too.
Voting is a very good option, but then you also have to think about who are the names that people know? Who are they going to vote for? If you're not giving them a whole spectrum of artists, if you're not including enough young artists in that spectrum, if they already don't know, it's a vicious circle. They're going to end up voting for the same people, right? I mean, again, this is another whole discussion
Yeah,
that we could
this is,
have.
I mean, this is
I'm
not
just
our department. That's a different department. But that is just a way. I mean, obviously, you can work on things, work
yeah.
on this topic, and come up with something. But
So for all the organizers watching and who just heard Anubrata mention that point, maybe you can
Reduce
think
the voting
about that, and
percentage.
maybe you can work on a better system that allows a bigger spectrum of people to be involved and at least be discussed in a
Yeah.
meeting where they can say, okay, maybe out of these 10 people, we can include these many people. And that's a great idea. Unmesh has a question, and we're going to end with this question. And then I have one more question to ask, which
Okay.
is, he says, how important is the brand of Pandit or Ustad for the next generation? Is it relevant anymore? This is a really big question. So
in
Pratik,
my
start this time.
generation,
Sorry,
in my
yeah.
generation, according to my opinion, it backfires. You don't try to be a ustad or a pandit. It's better to be acclaimed and be called and be respected and be loved. Something that Ustad Amjad Ali Khan Sahab once said to me, and he has said to a lot of people, that don't try to be the best musician, try to be the most loved musician. And if you see any musician that who's successful, that's the recipe. I mean, that's the thing. If you're loved for whatever reasons, for playing, for your personality, for the way you speak, it pretty much does the job. I mean, let the public decide.
Hmm.
That's what it is. So in
Okay.
the whole process of being the best musician, what we do is we end up protecting our gharana of Farrukhabad. These are like 5 qaidas of Farrukhabad. This is so special. And someone is doing something else. So in that whole process, sometimes you miss the point. That's what
Yeah,
I feel. I mean, I personally feel.
yeah. Pratik, very quickly, we probably have like 3 or 4 minutes
Oh, is
left.
there a time limit?
Sorry.
Oh,
I mean, not a
okay.
time limit. I mean, I was just hoping
Mhm.
like an hour of all of this talk is a lot. So
Yeah, no, this is, I think.
I don't want to like bombard people with things.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I know. But I'm personally very confused about this
Yeah.
Ustad Pandit,
See,
uh, uh,
yeah,
title related to present situation. Because as Anubrata said that, when you get loved or recognized, that's not the case in every time. Many other musicians are just receiving that title. So to
actually,
me, it's very hard
the
to, huh?
smarter musicians of our generation, people who are popular, people who are doing, they actually prefer not calling themselves Pandit. I've seen that purposely. Like, nahi,
Yeah,
that's very
don't call me
interesting.
Pandit.
yeah, because I think it has started to lose its gravity.
Mhm.
If you look at the broader picture.
If I'm not wrong, the whole Pandit and Ustad came from the All India radio gradations. If you were a top and if you were a Hindu, you would be called Pandit, and if you were a Muslim, you would be called Ustad. I think it came from there, and then somewhere down the line, it has been,
It has changed. Yeah.
it has
And it has
changed.
become based on public opinion.
Yeah, not even
You know.
public opinion. You
Or
wait
even one
for
major event can just, put a
People
title
call
before
themselves
you.
Pandits and Ustads. I
Yeah,
mean, I
you
don't
people
think
call
wait
there's
for
any
themselves
50
difference
Pandit
in
years.
and
You
Ustad.
wait until you're 50, and then if you are called Pandit, it's good. If you're not,
age.
then ask your students to start calling you. That's how a lot of
That's
it
how it
works.
works.
Well, these are all great discussions. There's so many
Uh-huh.
comments coming in. I'm actually losing track of the comments.
Okay.
But I'm sure you guys can, in your own time, go and look at if there's any questions
Yeah, we'll
directed
look them up.
specifically to you guys.
Yeah.
We'll
I mean,
definitely do
before
that.
any
And
questions, I want to say something. What I truly feel
yes,
is, the world of Indian classical music. It's a whole world. There are multiple things going, and everyone is trying to, in a way, take our music and move forward. People who are the purists, they are always advocating that you should play a raga this way, that way, or a tala this way. If you're playing rupak, it has to be this calculation, all things. And then there is a group of people who are trying to be vocal that why we have our mind, we have our brain, we should think and do something new. And what happens is that combination, when you have those old talim and whatever information that's coming from ages, and you have that, you mold it into your brain, into your heart, and you bring something out that actually I feel takes music forward. But then there is also the other way where you can learn a great thing from ustad and you're presenting it as it is, as the ustad has played. That is also great, because that also keeps young people like me or people who are younger than me to always know, okay, this is how the ustad used to play. Because if everyone is like moving forward, trying to cut the crap, then somewhere, the basics of our music will die, will disappear over ages. It's like evolution, I feel.
Sorry, say that last
Yeah.
bit again.
Yeah, it's just like a human evolution. I mean, we learned how to use fire, then we learned how to use cooking. It's a whole process.
Mm.
It's I think it's same with music. I mean, you have the information, you take it, you have the option of presenting it as it is. ये तान या ये कायदा मुझे मेरे गुरु ने सिखाया ऐसे. He used to play with this specific technique, which is great because we get to know all these. At the same time, there is also a group of musicians who take all that information, put it inside their head, their heart, and bring out something new. And I belong to the latter. I mean, my mission in life is to use those talim and try to do something new and hope that people relate to me, people like me. You can always hope. There is no guarantee. That's what I feel.
Yeah. So before we finish and I ask you the last question, I wanted to say something as well. I think it has created great conversation in the comment section, and that's helped me out because I'm going to be hosting this. So I have loads of questions to ask now to whoever comes after this. So thank you for all the comments, and hopefully in the next few sessions, these questions will be answered by the artists and the organizers who come in to talk to me. But there is one thing I wanted to mention, which I believe, I think we're all learning, we're all musicians, dancers in our own rights, we're all artists in our own rights, no matter what field that you belong from. I think what everybody deserves is a fair chance, and a fair chance to talk about their opinions. And I think that it doesn't matter at what stage of your musical learning you're at. I think being opinionated is really important. That's something I see is lacking in our industry. I see that
It is
lacking, and
majorly
I'm
lacking.
going to say that it's majorly lacking.
Yeah.
And also
Because
I
I
would
think
like
as
to say,
adult beings, if we are eligible to take our own decisions, if we are eligible to vote, it is also, wide opinion. If
yeah,
we are
and the
eligible
other
to
thing,
choose who will govern our country, we are also eligible to
So
address the
Pratik,
issues. We are also eligible to, point out the major faults that are prevailing. And because they are not being addressed, they are not changing.
and I just want to say on Devina's point that I think, because I was asking predominantly you guys, but I just want to put my opinion out on that. Is I definitely think she's written somewhere that there's relationships in those organizations that kind of govern who's going to perform and who's not going to perform. That definitely exists. I mean,
that exists in Bollywood. That exists everywhere. That exists.
I'm not saying that it only
That
exists here.
exists
I
everywhere.
mean, I don't really want to think about Bollywood.
One point which Pratik made, which I agree upon, is just like when you are 21, or is it 18 to vote? 18, I'm sorry, yeah, 18, right? Yeah, just when
Yes.
you're 18, you're allowed to vote, but you have to be 18. So in musical years, there is also that 18. A lot of people, a lot of youngsters, they first need to turn 18 in the
So
musical
50,
years
50 is the new 18, you
start
mean?
speaking. That's the thing. That also, it sends a lot of mixed signals.
But
What
in
you're
our
saying is
in our
absolutely relevant.
field, 18 is 50. You can't
18
speak
is
before
50.
you're
That's what
50.
I'm asking.
And if
Is
you
50 is
speak, you're labeled as somebody who's speaking too much.
Yeah,
But
that
even
is
if
true.
even if
That
you're
is true.
doing great work and speaking, your work will not be seen. The fact that you are speaking is being seen.
that will be seen.
But
So
still, if you're doing work, they still get to listen to you, and they still listen to you a little more than if you're not. That's what
no,
I have seen.
yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not saying that you should only speak and not do the work. I think there should be a balance of
No,
both.
I know, of course.
I mean,
Of course.
there's so many people who are playing, performing everywhere. Their name is
But you should
everywhere. But if
definitely
you
speak.
ask
You should
them,
definitely speak, not
but if
hold
you
on.
ask them
That
about
part
these
you are right.
issues, it's amazing that both of you are speaking about this. That's the starting point. You're both very, very established artists in your own rights, and you have lots of experience in this field that you've been working in for so many years. And the fact that you're ready to speak about this is the first step. That is the first step. And then those people who watch your music, who follow your music, will be like, wow, this person is performing amazingly. Their music is amazing. I follow their music. But they might also start following the way you think. That's also a
Yeah.
part of
You have to be
having a
relevant.
following.
That's the thing.
You
A
have to
lot
be
of people, a
relevant.
lot of musicians are not relevant when they speak. The
Yeah,
connection is not seen. That's true.
and because they don't build that personality and those opinions, they don't know how to speak in an interview format. They don't know how to
That's
have a
true.
discussion or to have a debate. They
That's
can't
true.
sit, they won't be able to sit in this system and
I'm learning how to speak. I'm learning.
so
This was a good
that's
experience.
no, I think and that's the thing. It's like, why should you always sit with people you agree with? You should be
Yeah,
sitting with people you disagree with and they have
Disagree
a
with, yeah.
different
absolutely.
opinion to you. But going
Absolutely.
back to Davina, what she said, that there's relationships in between the organizations. Again, Anubrata is right. It's not just in our field, it's in all fields. This goes, it's across the board. But I'm saying it's really necessary that we as this generation try to move out of that, try to at least highlight people who are maybe not in those privileged groups, right?
It
and
comes with
i'm
unity. Comes
and
with
I
unity.
consider myself to be incredibly privileged. I don't know about the both of you, but I'm incredibly privileged to be born in a musical family where my parents are there all the time, 24 hours to support me and say, fine, somebody's criticized you, but fine, you take that criticism on face value and you work
I'm
on it.
I'm I'm in the
You know?
same boat. I totally agree
Yeah,
with you.
I think all three of us are actually. So
All
we've
three.
been supported since we were kids, but there's so many people who don't have that. Even we have connections in the field, and we're very
Mhm.
lucky that we do.
Mhm.
Um, and we use that obviously to our own positive, benefit. But there's so many people who are working so hard, practicing, doing riyaz. They have their own opinions, they have their own ways of speaking, their own very good personalities. But
Mhm.
I think it's the fear that Pratik spoke about a while back. That
They're
fear is
not
a massive
encouraged to.
component.
They're not encouraged. Speaking is not encouraged in our
Speaking
field
is not encouraged.
historically.
Yeah,
Historically,
historically
so
not
it will
encouraged.
take a little time because it
Of
has
course,
happened for
and
so many years.
it's
But yeah,
great that we're starting
it's
it.
very
So
important to speak.
Yeah.
that's a fantastic thing that we've started this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with
Thank you,
me and
Saberi.
being with
Thank
everyone.
you,
And
Saberi.
there's just one last question I want to ask.
Yeah.
What do you think is, if you guys had to say one thing that's really positive right now in this generation and in this field for Indian classical music and dance, what's that thing for you guys that's happening right now?
I think it's the amount of information available to us. You know,
I
Mhm.
think I think the minds are
through
open. Minds are much more open now because of the information which Pratik said.
because of the
Because of the
information, we are getting
information.
to see the exact scene everywhere. We are getting to listen to so many artists and their initiatives. So
Mm.
we are a highly privileged generation. And
Yeah, and
and
do you
also
think
we have
social
so many
media has a big
platforms.
role?
Yeah, because there are so many platforms where we can get those information and also put our ideas on the table, which
Mm.
wasn't possible before.
Putting
Mm.
your ideas on the table is very important because that's how music has evolved historically.
Yeah.
It's if you see the history, that's how it had evolved. So what Pratik is saying, putting all the information into the table with a
Yeah.
clear mind, with a clear thought, and of course all the YouTube and everything, that really helps. And that is happening in our generation, even in your generation, Sabi. It's happening.
Yes, I think it's happening a lot. I think
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot of positivity. um I think one of the biggest things, at least that's been very positive for me, is social media, because
Mhm.
I live in London, and of course there's, I mean, my parents have kept me very well versed with the Indian classical music and dance world because I've always been in that atmosphere, and that's
Mhm.
completely my parents' credit, really, because I came here when I was 5 6 years old, and I I didn't get that India feel all the time, but my parents took me to India. They used to teach in their classes. I used to sit in their classes, be completely surrounded by music all the time.
That is the
um
advantage which all three of us got, to
that is the
be
advantage that all
soaked
three
in
of us
the,
got.
in the whole
Yeah.
mahol, as they say,
And just
of
just
music.
last, somebody's written here, and this is for next time, this is for when I'm with Durgesh.
Mhm.
Momita Banerjee has said, a talented artist can make his way anyway. And
That's true.
I don't know if that's true, but that's an interesting statement.
That's
Uh,
that's a
it's
that's a positive
incredibly
at least.
interesting. It is a
We'll
positive. I
find
mean,
out
I
if it's
think
true.
I think everything that we've spoken about today is a positive. The fact that
Yeah.
we've
It
spoken
has a
about all
positive
these
impact.
things is a
Mhm.
positive, because
It
these
is,
things
yeah.
don't get spoken about, and
Mhm.
I think it's very necessary that we do. And
It
the
is.
fact that we've disagreed on a few things and we've agreed on a few things, that in itself is a positive.
And it is also
Positive thing.
necessary for a few senior musicians to come on board and speak, address these issues.
I would love that.
Yeah,
I would
that's the
really
thing.
love that.
Yeah.
I think we will have a few. I look forward to sharing with all of you the upcoming lineup of people who are going to come. But yes, so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you,
for
thank you.
speaking
And
your
thank
minds
you
and your
everyone for
hearts.
joining us.
Take care. Yeah, thank you for watching us, and
There's so many questions, so
throwing
many
your
points that have been
questions.
raised.
Yeah.
If you, whenever you guys
We'll-
feel free, if there's some
we will go
questions
through all
that I
of them.
you guys.
We will go
Yes,
through all of them.
and the next episode is with Durgesh Gangani, a wonderful Kathak dancer, and I have had great conversations with Durgesh, and I hope to address some very interesting issues surrounding Kathak, especially Indian classical dance, but Kathak especially because we both share Kathak, between each other, and so I really look forward to that. That's on the 30th of April. I hope everybody is safe at home. Please stay at home. Please stay safe. Keep practicing, keep talking to each other, keep discussing, keep debating, and keep bringing up different topics for all of us to discuss. And I hope to see you guys again on the 30th of April here. And hopefully next time it's not going to be so messed up the first 10 minutes, because now I've
Now you
worked
know
out
the
how
way.
to work it.
Now you have figured out how
Wonderful,
to.
Saberi.
I
Thank
was
you for
so
hosting us.
stressed the first 2 times, but
It's
fine.
always the first time. But
Yeah.
just because me and Pratik, we started. So when you reach 100 million, you should invite us on a special conversation or something.
Of course.
Yeah.
We'll do a round table. We'll do like a round table
Yeah.
with maybe 5 other artists. And now that we have Zoom, we can do it with 5 other
Yeah,
people
that
and
will be interesting.
have a whole
Wonderful.
conversation. But thank you for
Great.
cutting the crap with
Take-
me, and I think we've done it very well. If I may say so myself, you both have cut the crap very well, and I hope to cut the crap with Durgesh next time. Thank you for
Great.
being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you,
best, Durgesh.
Saberi. Thank you,
Thank you.
Saberi.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Pratik.
Pratik.
Take
Thank
care
you,
and
Thank you,
bye bye
Anubrata.
to everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.